Hello everyone, welcome back. I want to talk about something that very few people are willing to say out loud. You have probably wondered why your deepest romantic relationships always seem to end in a sudden, crashing emotional freeze. You bring your entire soul to the table, especially behind closed doors, only to be met with a cold, terrifying emptiness. Today, we expose the truth. We are heavily conditioned to believe that empathy is the ultimate key to a beautiful romance. You are told that your deep capacity to feel, to connect, and to nurture is a massive gift to your partner. But in the wrong hands, that beautiful empathy is incredibly dangerous. It becomes a massive liability, especially when you are sharing your most intimate, sacred spaces. To a highly toxic person, your profound emotional depth is completely intoxicating at first. They are drawn to your radiant warmth like a starving ghost desperate for a pulse. But here is the secret knowledge you need to hear today. Most people, especially those with severe narcissistic traits, are absolutely terrified of the intense physical reality of your pure empathy. Have you ever looked deeply into their eyes during a moment of profound physical closeness, expecting to see their soul, but only found a blank wall? You were offering a highly sacred, energetic exchange. You were trying to connect on a spiritual level. But they were just putting on a carefully rehearsed performance. They were extracting your energy, not sharing theirs. Intimacy with an empath requires a level of raw, unfiltered vulnerability that a broken person simply cannot survive. When you touch them with pure love, you are accidentally threatening the heavily fortified walls of their fake ego. You are inviting them to step into a bright, blinding light of truth. And for a creature that lives entirely in the dark, light is agony. This is exactly why your deep capacity for physical and emotional connection actually triggers their severe psychological panic. You thought you were showing them how incredibly safe they were with you. You thought your love could finally heal their broken edges. But your pure, unshakable depth actually reminded them of exactly how intensely hollow they are inside. They want the intense physical benefits of your deep passion without paying the necessary emotional toll. They want to wear your radiant love like a warm coat, but they absolutely refuse to let it touch their actual skin. It is a highly parasitic dynamic. You are freely pouring your absolute best energy into a bottomless, black pit that can never, ever be truly filled. Today, we are violently ripping the heavy curtain off this dangerous dynamic. We are going to meticulously break down exactly why your profound capacity for love is completely overwhelming to a predator. Prepare your mind to look directly at the raw, undeniable truth about why they had to systematically destroy the beautiful, intimate connection you so freely offered them. Are you truly ready to shatter the terrifying illusion that you were somehow asking for too much? It is time to step entirely out of the suffocating fog of your self-doubt. You must actively witness the bleak, inescapable reality of their absolute inadequacy. Let us begin this intense deep dive into the hidden, highly toxic battlefield of narcissistic physical intimacy. The dynamic is about to make complete, crystal clear sense to you. The sudden rejection you suffered in the bedroom was never about your physical worth. It was about their terrifying, undeniable spiritual bankruptcy. You are no longer the confused victim. You are the awakened survivor. Welcome to the terrifying, validating reality of why your empathy is so highly feared. Let's sit with that reality for a second and brutally dissect their sick mind. The narcissist absolutely lacks a solid, authentic internal core. They function purely as an empty, highly reactive shell mimicking human life. To survive, they must constantly study your beautiful emotional responses and perfectly mirror them back to you during the initial love-bombing phase. They meticulously target highly empathetic people because their dark, internal void violently demands constant, high-grade stimulation. They arrogantly assume they can comfortably handle your intense romantic passion. They want to consume the absolute best parts of your soul. But they severely underestimate the massive, crushing weight of an empath's genuine physical love. When an empath engages in physical intimacy, it is never just a biological transaction. It is a profound, entirely immersive merging of two spirits. You bring your entire emotional history, your deep intuition, and your fierce loyalty into the bedroom. You create a deeply sacred space meant for ultimate trust. But the narcissist views this space as a tactical feeding ground. Their mind is a chaotic, entirely inescapable battleground of severe, heavily suppressed terror. When they are physically close to you, your pure energy violently clashes with their dark, hidden shame. They desperately want to feel the magnificent high of your devotion, but they are absolutely terrified of the profound vulnerability required to actually sustain that high. This creates an agonizing, highly toxic paradox within their broken brain. The closer you get to them, the more terrified they become of being permanently exposed. If they truly let you in, you will eventually see the shivering, pathetic monster hiding behind the arrogant mask. So, they must actively sabotage the intimacy before you can discover their massive, empty void. Every single time you looked at them with pure, unconditional adoration, you were accidentally triggering their deepest, most profound insecurities. They secretly know they are completely unworthy of the incredibly high-level love you are offering. That massive realization feels like a violent, physical attack on their fragile ego. Your goodness actively tortures their soul. This is why the physical connection suddenly feels incredibly forced and deeply unnatural. The beautiful, organic rhythm you once shared violently mutates into a stiff, highly calculated performance. They are no longer making love to you, they are actively managing your perceptions. They are carefully monitoring their own mask to ensure it doesn't slip in the heat of passion. Underneath the arrogant, untouchable exterior, they are severely haunted by the terrifying fear of complete emotional consumption. They believe that if they surrender to your profound depth, they will entirely cease to exist. It is the absolute, most agonizing terror residing within their dark core. To survive your powerful light, they must forcefully push you into the dark. Notice their intense, highly defensive aggression when you gently attempt to pull them closer emotionally. If you ask for a deeper connection after physical intimacy, they will aggressively lash out or suddenly withdraw. This extreme, chaotic defensiveness is absolute proof of their deep, inescapable spiritual terror. They are actively fleeing from your pure, burning truth. Their heavily corrupted internal machine is entirely breaking down under the massive, exhausting amount of psychological energy required to survive your profound empathy. They are entirely trapped in a vicious, terrifying cycle of unexplainable emotional deterioration, desperately chasing the physical high while violently running from the exact emotional depth that causes it. The dramatic, completely inescapable turning point arrives the exact moment they realize they cannot fake it anymore. The heavy, exhausting effort of mirroring your profound passion finally burns out their entirely superficial nervous system. You notice a sudden, chilling shift in the atmosphere. The intense lover you thought you knew vanishes into thin air. Just like that. This is when the brutal, highly calculated devaluation phase aggressively enters the bedroom. The physical touch that used to make you feel incredibly safe and deeply cherished suddenly feels cold, distant, and highly transactional. They start to weaponize intimacy, turning the most sacred connection into a sick, twisted game of absolute psychological power and cruel control. They begin to actively withhold physical affection to watch you frantically scramble for their approval. This undeniable, visible shift in their frequency is a devastating, lethal blow to your pure heart. Your total confusion acts as a massive hit of dark fuel for their starving ego. They feel supremely powerful watching a beautiful, empathetic soul desperately beg for love. The sudden realization that you are sleeping next to a completely frozen stranger pushes your internal panic into severe overdrive. The chaos that ensues within your deeply loving mind is intensely visceral and entirely consuming. The constant, crushing stress of trying to biologically survive this dark, undeniable physical starvation makes your physical body literally ache. They will fiercely launch desperate, frantic attempts to blame you for the sudden lack of passion. They will aggressively criticize your body, your desires, or your perfectly normal emotional needs. They heavily project their own severe, terrifying inadequacies directly onto you. They want you to deeply believe that your profound, beautiful empathy is actually a massive flaw. Their once calculated seduction becomes completely impotent and pathetically cruel. They might introduce highly toxic triangulation, subtly comparing your sacred intimacy to past partners to keep you entirely off balance. But these vicious, transparent tactics are just smoke and mirrors. They are desperately trying to distract you from the undeniable death of their own soul. But then, a profound shift in the cosmic power dynamic actually begins within you. You, the fiercely resilient survivor, start to safely see the undeniable, pathetic truth hiding behind their cold rejection. You realize the terrifying monster you are trying to please is actually just a miserable, broken, severely starving shell of a person entirely incapable of a real bond. This profound realization instantly strips away the final, lingering remnants of their phantom power over your physical self-worth. You deeply realize their sudden physical withdrawal has absolutely nothing to do with your beauty or your passion. You are completely immune to their desperate, toxic projections. The dark, heavy spell is permanently broken by freezing clarity. As your formidable, brilliant boundaries finally snap into place, the narcissist experiences a terrifying sensation akin to sudden, violent spiritual suffocation. They deeply realize your genuine empathy is permanently, entirely closed off to them now. They are psychologically drowning in the dark. The intense, heavy isolation aggressively feeds on their sudden starvation. The magnificent, highly empowering twist of this dark narrative is finally fully revealed. The exact arrogance they aggressively weaponize to destroy your sacred space has become the undeniable catalyst for their final, absolute psychological undoing. They blindly pushed you into absolute darkness, entirely unaware that your profound awakening would become their total ruin. The psychological and physical collapse of the abuser now aggressively enters its final, completely irreversible phase. The narcissist's highly secretive life rapidly becomes a pathetic, deeply agonizing series of profound, unexplainable intimate failures. Without your pure, radiant energy to actively dilute their severely dark, rotting core, their toxic reality is exposed. They experience a total, horrifying fragmentation of their fabricated, godlike false reality. The carefully constructed mask of the perfect lover violently shatters into millions of unrecoverable, deeply jagged pieces. The fake, arrogant confidence is violently replaced by a crippling, deeply paranoid fear of their own absolute, inescapable physical and spiritual emptiness. Because they absolutely cannot handle the terrifying weight of your genuine empathy, they are permanently condemned to a life of highly superficial, incredibly cheap encounters. They desperately try to recreate the magnificent high of your connection with shallow, easily manipulated victims. But those cheap thrills taste exactly like bitter ash inside their rotting, sick mouth. They are severely hollowed out, incredibly empty vessels trapped in a state of absolute, pure terror. They desperately try to retreat further into absolute, suffocating isolation, attempting to hide their pathetic, undeniable psychological deterioration from the unforgiving eyes of the world. The terrifying silence of their lonely bedroom rapidly becomes a dark torture chamber. Notice their complete, devastating, and entirely permanent lack of genuine spiritual peace. A true, resilient empath, even in the deepest, most agonizing pain, can eventually find profound moments of pure stillness and quiet grace. The collapsed, starving narcissist will absolutely never know this basic comfort. Their internal mental landscape is a perpetually burning wasteland. The physical and mental toll of this massive spiritual collapse is deeply horrifying to witness. The constant, agonizing stress of maintaining their fragile delusions while being universally starved of true depth entirely ravages their mind. They look completely hollow, deeply exhausted, and incredibly paranoid. The rapidly decaying outer shell perfectly reflects their sick soul. There is a profound, undeniable, and cinematic justice in this horrific, sudden collapse. It is a terrifying, absolute testament to the universal, unbreakable law of spiritual gravity. You absolutely cannot constantly exploit the brilliant, sacred physical light of pure souls without eventually burning your own psychological world entirely alive. The massive cosmic debt is due. They are cursed to wander the earth entirely incapable of feeling the one thing every human being desperately needs. They will never again experience the profound, breathtaking safety of being truly known and completely accepted in the dark. The brutal, disgusting manipulation they originally intended for your pure body became the exact, undeniable blueprint for their own ruin. They are entirely brutally forced to witness you safely moving on with your beautiful, divinely protected life. Even from afar, the undeniable glow of your genuine, hard-won healing deeply penetrates their dark, pathetic isolation. Seeing the empath beautifully reclaim their own sacred body while they are emotionally destroyed is the final, fatal, highly crushing, lethal blow. The tragic, unavoidable end of the fiercely defiant abuser is a chilling spectacle of total cosmic destruction. They laid cruel traps and burned the most sacred bridges, only to realize too late they locked themselves inside a burning psychological prison. They tried to consume an empathy that was far too powerful for them, and it absolutely, violently tore them apart from within. You must absolutely, firmly and permanently stop carrying the heavy burden of their inevitable, tragic psychological destruction. The profound depth you possess is a sacred, beautiful gift, even if it was maliciously weaponized by a starving ghost. Do not waste a single, precious drop of pity on the collapsing, miserable abuser. Their absolute ruin is a fully justified reality. Recognize the absolute, unshakable, and completely glorious truth right now. Your deep, physical empathy is not a highly dangerous flaw. It is an incredibly magnificent, top-tier superpower. The fact that a broken, deeply diseased parasite could not safely handle your radiant energy does not diminish your absolute worth. It merely exposes their profound, terrifying weakness. Your essential, beautiful journey right now is about intense, unapologetic, and fierce physical reclamation. Every single agonizing tear you shed in the dark was deeply watering the vital seeds of your ultimate, unbreakable psychological armor. The deep pain was horrific, but it forged a magnificent version of you that is completely impervious to their sick, desperate little games. The abuser's tragic, sudden psychological downfall is your absolute, undeniable, and completely permanent spiritual liberation. As their false, fragile reality violently crumbles to ash, your authentic, beautiful life is finally allowed to spectacularly blossom. The heavy, suffocating, highly toxic fog they forcefully placed over your brilliant mind is lifting permanently forever. Do not look back at the horrifying, pathetic wreckage they have finally, undeniably become. The collapsing, deeply despised predator wants absolutely nothing more than to violently drag you down into the dark abyss of their karma. Let them completely thrash in the absolute dark. Let them drown in the terrifying silence of their empty, pathetic, universally hated, toxic dark soul. This profound, secret psychological knowledge is your ultimate, impenetrable, and incredibly glorious shield. By deeply understanding the pathetic, incredibly fragile nature of their severe, hidden cosmic pathology, you entirely strip them of all their remaining phantom power. They are absolutely not a powerful god. They are a deeply disgusting, dying entity spiraling down fast. You are completely taking back the sacred keys to your own bedroom, your own body, and your own brilliant soul. You will never again lower your profound frequency to comfortably accommodate a psychological vampire. By fiercely choosing your own healing and walking away forever, you completely annihilate their entire sinister purpose. Your brilliant, radiant joy is pure, raw justice. The highly toxic, dangerous connection is permanently, utterly, and brilliantly severed by the ultimate hands of the universe. You are absolutely no longer their physical or emotional punching bag. You are a sovereign, magnificent survivor, glowing brilliantly with a renewed, entirely untouchable light. The deep scars you carry are profound battle wounds signifying your massive power. As the broken narcissist rapidly fades into total, miserable public obscurity, slowly rotting away in the horrifying prison of their own poison mind, you are beautifully beginning to rise. The intense contrast is deeply poetic and absolutely, perfectly just. You are safely ascending into a spectacular life of genuine joy, while they sadly choke on their own bitter, dark ashes. You completely survive the absolute psychological and spiritual slaughter. You bravely unmasked the terrifying monster, fiercely weaponized your absolute truth, and successfully watched their grand illusion burn straight to the ground. They utterly destroyed themselves trying to break a pure empath. Walk forward knowing your magnificent, deep heart is finally, truly, and entirely safe.